Welcome back 40k fans to a, well, I suppose it's a product review really, of a GW product. I know there's probably a few videos out there and a lot of the hype's been online, but I thought why not give my opinions on Warhammer Conquest, the new subscription based magazine that you can get, and it is going to be available in your high street shops as well. So basically, I'm going to do a review based up on as though no one had ever heard about Warhammer or the very basic of it. To be honest, most people who look at this kind of stuff's already in the hobby, but just going to have a quick look through what you get in it, price, everything like that. A lot of that's already on the internet anyway, but so let's just get into it. So Warhammer Conquest, it is a subscription-based magazine that GW have decided to do, and it's going to be, I think it's 80 issues long, and the very first issue, like I say, is right in front of me, so you can probably already guess what it is that you guys who know the hobby, but to yous who are just maybe thinking about getting into it, or never heard nothing about Warhammer 40,000 and you're absolutely just oblivious to anything about the 41st millennium, this is a really good place to start actually. Now, obviously issue 1 straight there, $1.99, and for that it's pretty standard to any collector out there. You know, if you do all the magazines that come out in the past, like your Star Treks and Marvel, stuff like that, the first issue is always cheaper. Good idea, it gets people into the hobby, but this one actually really does pay off for doing it because the value for what you get is brilliant. So first of all, and like I say, you get your magazine, which we'll take a look in that in a second. It comes quite well, you know, just in your polythene bag. I have obviously pulled that off there, and of course down to the meat side of it, just this slides off quite easily. I've already had a quick look. I did get 4 copies myself because I plan on doing a kill team. So first of all, you get these guys here on the front, which are the Primaris intercessors. So they come on the new sprues, like the snap fit sprues, so you don't really even need glue for these guys, which is good, especially for new beginners out there. And there's plenty of videos out there of how to customize these as well if you want a variety, because you can snip things off. So you get 3 Primaris intercessors, obviously one of them being a sergeant, and they look pretty cool actually. So you get them, you get your bases underneath, which are your 32 mils. You get what's called a starter brush, which is fairly okay for painting the basics of what you're going to be starting off with, but going down into the nitty-gritty smaller details like the eye lenses and things like that that's on the helmets, which you see just here, you're going to need a bit of a smaller brush or a really steady hand. But the value comes, I think, the value definitely comes for the paints. So you get 3 paints, and they're pretty much the main paints that you'll start off to paint this particular colour scheme here. For you who don't know, this is the colour scheme of the Ultramarines, which a lot of veterans out there, these are the poster boys of GW. They're featured on pretty much every kind of Space Marine codex. You know, one of the most, the biggest in the fluff, and they are the poster boys, so to speak. So you get 3 lots of paint. You get your blue, Cantor blue. You get your Retributor armor, which is really handy for me because it's one of the colours that I use for my Thousand Suns, and black. And of course, black, you can never really go wrong with black. Pretty much every army you'll use black somewhere. So 3 paints. Now, if you've never been into a GW shop, 1 pot of paint will cost you about, just off the top of my head, about £2.50, £2.55, give or take. So, I mean, you got like £7.50 worth of paints there. Like 2, 4, 6, 50, yeah, about £7.50 worth of paints, which is great. A brush, of course, which you will be paying on average around about £2 to £3 for one of them. And this is if you go direct to Games Workshop, not including any of your third-party retailers. And of course the intercessors themselves. So I've never had Primaris Marines before, but I think just off the top of my head that the snap together ones are about £7, I think, £7 or £8. So you get all of that plus your starting magazine for £1.99, which is absolutely brilliant for your value to get started off. And of course there's multiple issues as well, which are a little bit more expensive, but I suppose if you wanted to dip in and out, so if you, like I said earlier, these are going to be available at your local, I think it's UK only, but the likes of Asda, some of the co-op shops have them in, and I believe WH Smith, stuff like that, like the main places that sell a lot of magazines, are going to start stocking this, which is great. Especially if you live in an area where you have access to, maybe it's more than one. You've got a co-op around the corner and Asda not too close by, just in case one of them's out and you desperately want to go and grab one. I haven't had an issue of finding these at all. So what we'll do is we'll take a quick step back. I'm going to get this out and we'll have a proper look at what's actually in the magazine itself, and give you my thoughts on it. So here we go. So I've obviously taken it out of the packaging. Just gives you an introduction to Space Marines, the Battle for Luna, and build and paint your intercessors. So as I said earlier, a lot of veterans out there, you'll know the majority of things like your fluff and how to build Space Marines. But it's always nice to have a look at it, especially for new. This is designed for new beginners or people just starting to get back into the hobby as well. So I think it's really good. So straight away, you've got a little bit of nice artwork there. It gives you a bit of a background behind the 41st Millennium. A little bit about the Emperor. You'll hear a lot of, I'm going to aim this review, like I said earlier, towards new people. So forgive us for you veterans out there who may be thinking, he's telling us stuff that we already know. But obviously the Emperor, he's basically like the god for Space Marines and all of mankind. So you'll hear them all shouting, for the Emperor kind of stuff. So it gives you a little bit of history about him. Moving across, obviously you've got Dark Imperium. This is kind of in the storyline of where Games Workshop are at the moment with the releases that they're doing. It's kind of talking about how they've gotten to this stage. So it's a little bit of history. You've got some nice little display models here, fighting against. Because the collection of this, once you've completed it, you should have a Primaris force and a Death Guard force, so the fighting Death Guard there. You've got Robute Gulliman there, which is the Primarch, so think of him, you new guys, think he's basically the overall father and leader of the Ultramarines, which are these guys in blue. So moving on, just gives you a bit of a galaxy map there, what the map and the world kind of, the universe that 41st Millennium's based in. Talks about, of course, the Space Marines. So the Space Marines probably are the most well-known faction amongst 40k fans and the 40k universe and everything to do with the fluff. And I think it's because it appeals to a lot of people out there. If you grew up watching things like Starship Troopers and Alien, like the Alien films and things like that, especially Aliens, James Cameron's Aliens with, the colonial Marines, it all kind of appeals to the futurist, in me as well. I grew up watching them kind of stuff. So the Space Marines, the genetically engineered, they show no fear, basically. These guys are one of the most popular and the biggest faction probably out there. So you've got multiple different chapters as well, multiple different colour schemes. So you've got just down here the salamanders, which are in the green colour there. And of course you can paint these guys whatever colour that you want. You can choose a chapter from existing lore, or you can just create your own, which is all quite fun. You can do it with any army, but the Space Marines are quite common at doing that because they've got so many different chapters. So you've got a couple of them there as well. Obviously there's more than this, but a couple of the main ones. You've got the Ultramarines, which are the guys on the front, just avoiding the glare from the light there. The Salamanders, which you've just seen. white scars, bit of a tricky colour scheme this for a newbie. You got the Iron Hands, Graven Guard, very similar to the Iron Hands, but slightly different in regards to iconography. You've got the Imperial Fists, same again, beautiful colour scheme. With a bit of practice, these guys look amazing. Silver Templars, they're relatively new to me. I'm not massive on Imperial stuff. And then the Dark Angels, which look pretty cool. So they're the Ultramarines. It's going to talk about the Ultramarines because they're featured on the front. So a little bit more about them, just more units, a little bit more background iconography about them. So it's just giving you a quite good history about the army, where they come from, what their agenda is. Like I say, there's a lot of people probably watching this who are well into the hobby and know all this already. And you might not really care about this bit, but this is designed for newbies, so I will talk as though this is a review for that. So a little bit more about what these guys are, the intercessors, where they come from, the battle tactics, stuff like that. Fighting against the armies of Tzeentch here. You might not be able to see properly, but for the glare, this is one of the armies I do, which is the Thousand Suns, which is evil version of these, the Chaos Space Marines. So moving on, you then gives you a little bit more history about what type of armour, and then of course down to the nitty gritty stuff. So this is starting to get into the actual model aspect of it now. So it's obviously for younger viewers out there, it's telling you obviously about, you know, your clip of safety when you're using them, you know, try not to cut yourself or anything like that. How to take them off and how to build them basically. So it's quite easy to do. Gives you the 3 different versions there, and obviously how to paint them as well. Now I've already kind of looked through this now. There's a lot of reviews out there which are saying that the painting section is very basic, because it pretty much goes over the 3 colours that you have. Now understandably, if you're brand new to the hobby and you've never painted anything like this, this is fine. But for you experienced people out there, and myself included, I was a little bit disappointed with this, because because it's only using the 3 colours, so it's literally got black, blue and gold on it, and that's it. But remember guys, this is very basic. Once you start to collect your new colours, you go into a Games Workshop, you know, you're going to do things like the skin on the sergeant's face. There's going to be more colours on here, so you know, they're going to look more like this, you know, on the front. There's the flesh and different colours and chipping and transfers, which you know, as far as I'm aware, this will cover that later on down the line. You know, it's designed for beginners, very young beginners, I would imagine. And then of course it's just giving you a little bit of a, you know, a tutorial there about how to play. Very basic stuff there. And I quite like this that it does, because it's given, I'll just fold that over so you can actually see, Battle for Corvin 2. Now, it's given a bit of fluff here, and I used to really, I still do now, but I used to really like reading these when I was younger, when I first started, where it was a little snippet of an actual story. And I just think it's nice for them to put that in, because if people just want to get into the hobby for the fluff, I think that's also a very good idea. And that's pretty much it. It's quite thin, but of course, going on to the back page, it's obviously telling you what you're going to get in issue 2. So in issue 2, you're going to get the Death Guard, which look really cool. Be nice to get a few of them painted. I mean, I don't do Death Guard, so I'll probably skip this. You get Death Guard green paint, so Semigent. And apparently you also get your player mat, your rulers and your dice as well, which is pretty cool. And then it's just giving you a snippet of what you're going to get in issue 3 as well, some Primaris Reavers here, which look pretty cool. And of course you get some new paint. So I believe the second issue is going to be $4.99, which is still really good value for the money. Not as good as the first issue, of course, but £5 for some paint and three Death Guard at least. You know, that $2.50 already. You'd be paying around about this is literally just guesswork here. Around about £7 or £8, maybe more. Still really good value for money, even if you just wanted to get these just to practice or to do a trade with, you know, a friend who just, or just a gift really, I suppose, and you just keep the paint. It's good, very good idea. There's a couple of other things that you get as well, so we'll finish with that. Just, you know, some advice about subscribing, you know, what kind of stuff that you can expect. You know, you get your modelling kit for free and issued by special deals, really. You know, if you've ever subscribed to anything like this before, you'll know. So the premium subscription offer, which is, you know, it's £1.50 extra. You get your premium war gear. Like I say, a lot of people probably not going to really do this, to be fair. I thought this was quite handy as well because again, I keep saying it over and over again, but for anybody starting new, and you don't know where your Games Workshops are, this gives you some, you know, where all your Games Workshops are, and I believe, oh no, they are all, they're all Warhammer and Games Workshop shops. Because I know in White Dwarf, which is another magazine you can get for you guys who don't know, it also gives a list, or it used to give a list in the back of independent retailers, which I thought was quite cool. You also get a free poster as well. Now, of course, the free poster is going to be the poster boys here. It's going to be these. But there's a couple of other bits and bobs to show you in this before folding out. So, one thing that I noticed, which I think Graham on the channel will be probably looking to get somehow, is, and I don't know whereabouts this guy or when he's going to appear, but there's an exclusive character here, and even I think this guy looks pretty cool. It looks as though he is uniquely for the Ultramarines chapter, because if you look very closely on there, it is the Ultramarine symbol on the hilt of the sword, very Roman looking, which is what the Ultramarines are kind of inspired from, the Roman legions. So yeah, so pretty cool there, and just a little bit more information on how to, you know, how to play. Another subscription thing there, but I mean this poster is massive. It's absolutely huge. I mean, folding all the way out. I'll not show you the whole thing, but it's basically, I'll just fold it in half one. It is a massive, massive poster. So yeah, so you get a nice juicy Space Marine. Looks pretty cool. Not too bad to stick on your wall somewhere, or anybody who's got a channel or anything like that, stick in the background somewhere like that. So I think it's really, really good value for money, as most people will already be telling on their reviews for their channels. So just about these guys. Now, I decided to get the Intercessors because I wanted to start getting into Kill Team. And I think a lot of people out there are doing this as well. I think it's a really cheap way of getting into Kill Team. And I actually don't own a Imperial Army. So I thought, well, I may potentially expand upon these in the far future, but I thought I'll do a Kill Team. So I've done a couple of them. I haven't painted them up. They are literally just built together and sprayed black, which I will just give you a show. So this guy here, this is the Sergeant. So I just need to spray a little bit more there. So that's the kind of pose that he will be when you're finished. So it is all no glue on him at all. He's not the Sergeant, sorry, he's the Auspex guy. The only glue really is because I swapped his head for a bare head. Thought it's turned out pretty well. And the reason I've done that is because I've got another one built the same way as what you see on the front page. So same again, I just need to spray these guys a little bit on different angles. But he's got his helmet on, looking at his Auspex. Now you can obviously convert these to give them different poses, but for the time being I've only got 6 built up at the moment, so I've altered them ever so slightly. You've also got the Sergeant that's on the front. So not the best pictures because you're probably just looking at black. But he's the pointy, shouty guy, so he's pointing, he's got his helmet on the side, and a bare head as well. So that's that guy. So, like I say, I need to spray just at different angles just to get rid of the blue. And there is a reason for that, because I don't want these to be blue. My other alternative sergeant is this guy. So I hacked off the helmet on the side here, smoothed it out as best as I could, which I don't think it turned out too bad, and stuck the helmet on him. And to be honest, he could pass as just a standard Marine, which I think I might just do that. And the guy, I actually put the sergeant's head on a standard Marine, and I've left his arms off because I want to paint all the details in there before I glue it away, press it in. And the same with that guy as well. So he's just got a helmet on. And the reason being is because these guys, I'm going to paint them as a different chapter. Now, I was pondering for quite some time about what chapter do I do. Years and years ago, when I very first started the hobby, I actually did Ultramarines. So for you new guys, the guys on the front of the magazine, the blue, are the Ultramarines. And years ago, I did Ultramarines Army, and I got rid of them eventually. But for the kill team, I think it was a bit of a toss-up between a couple of chapters. I was thinking about doing Crimson Fists at one point. Really almost still tempted to do that colour scheme, to be honest. But I am going to do the Flesh Tearers. And the reason for this is because I've read a little bit about the fluff, and they're basically just absolute psychotics. They're on the borderline of being considered excommunicated traitors. So I thought, yeah, these guys sound pretty cool. They sound as though they just do what needs to be done, and they do not care how they do it. They're a successor chapter of the Blood Angels, for you guys who have no idea what I'm talking about. But yeah, so if you don't know who the Flesh Tearers are, what they look like, or anything like that, just Google them. There's some images out there, but that's what I'm going to do these guys as. And I'm looking forward to painting them, looking forward to see what type of job I can do on them. And they look really cool. So, just getting back to the actual task at hand. So there's, let's say I've got another 2 copies. So I've got 6 Marines here. So I'll have 12. And that cost me £8. Well, actually, it didn't cost me anything because Graham from the channel was ever so kind, and he actually bought me them. And he didn't want any money for it. So thanks, Graham. But yeah, so £8 for basically double what you see here, which is a really cool starting point. You can't really go wrong for 12 intercessors, even if you just got 1 or 2 issues. 6, that's absolutely really cool for kill team. Or if you're just starting to get into the hobby, it's a nice starting point. You don't want to rush in and buy lots and lots of stuff, because you're going to get overwhelmed with what you have to build, what you have to paint. So, to be honest, that's probably the perfect number, really, to kind of start off with. Little bit of variety, the nice miniatures to paint up as well for a first starter. You know, quite open, quite big panels. Not too difficult, I would think, to get in there and paint what you need to paint. And especially with them being like the push fit ones, you can, like what I've done with this one, you can get nice in there and paint the eagle on the front here before you stick this on, so it gets nice and in there, and then just pop that on, and then there you go. So that's pretty much the review. And so me final thoughts really is it is a really good starting point. Been looking forward to seeing some of the future episodes, issues of it, sorry, to kind of find out what other stuff's out there that you can get. And like I say, you might not have to even subscribe. It might be hopefully it's a magazine that lives on and goes on. It's not going to be one of these that stops like a lot of subscription services do. Hopefully it's going to be available in the shop pretty much all the time. It'd be nice if they do, because then people who don't want a particular faction, like you might not want to collect the Space Marine side of it, you might just want the Death Card, or vice versa. You can just jump in and jump out whenever you want. So I think it's a good little starting point, and it gets people talking about the hobby, and it gets, You know, I think it's a good move by GW. So I hope you have enjoyed this quick little review and me rambling on about everything and anything apart from the review. But no, in all seriousness, I hope you have enjoyed it. Please check out the rest of the channel for battle reports featuring not these guys, but Space Marines are on there and their Chaos counterparts, as well as other forces. And tune in next time.